And here we are live, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for putting on your leather chaps, your shoulder pads, and strapping the shotgun to your back as you have a trusty dog next to you. As we, the Spoiler Room crew, continue to wander the wasteland here. And tonight we've got a special one. I've been looking for. I when I came up with Wasteland Wandered, I'm like, I've got to put this one on the list. It was a cable staple for up all night for many a time. It was on there quite a bit. And we are talking about the Roddy Piper epic Hell Comes to Frogtown. Yes, Hell Comes to Frogtown from a 1988. And I have a wonderful crew assembled with me tonight. First off, she is back with us in the spoiler room. It is none other than the one and only Angelique Bone. Hello, Angelique. How are you?
I'm great.
She's great, and she cannot wait. She cannot wait to talk about the dance of the three snakes and two other snakes here in the spoiler room tonight. He is joining us here right now, and while he is connecting, we have my right-hand man who keeps coming back for more, our second snake, Mr. Ian Simmons. How you doing?
Hey, I'm snakes 2 and 3, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm doing great. We had a whole text exchange while I was making my way through this movie, Mark, and wow, I can't wait to talk about this.
I can't wait to hear it.
We did. We had some words. Ian had some comments about this film. And hopefully Joe can join us here.
Although Joe, his face right now in the freeze frame, that's my expression watching most of this movie.
It was the face you were making for most of the film. I figured as much. I figured that is what the face you were making. So hopefully Joe could connect with us, Mr. Joe Randazzo. And yeah, so Angelique,
Hi.
It's been a little while. Yeah. And besides, I would love to hear the female angle of the synopsis of Hell Comes to Frogtown. You can do it. Come on, you can do this.
I can do it.
Oh, but first we got to thank everyone for venturing down the stairs, pulling up a chair, and popping their favorite drinks. I am drinking Wisconsin Blee tonight. Usually it's been some wine or some other beverage, but tonight it just felt appropriate to be drinking Wisconsin Blee tonight. So all right, Angelique, we are ready. I've got my beverage popped.
Okay,
give us the synopsis, if you could, for Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Okay, so nuclear war has destroyed the world, ? At least America. And there is a surplus of women and not many men who are fertile and able to create new life, as it were. And there are also mutant frog people that came about because of all the nuclear fallout and whatnot. And the frog people don't like the skins. And so it's greeners versus skins. And they're separate. All the frog people live in a place called Frogtown. But apparently, King Toady kidnapped a bunch of fertile women. And there is a government woman-run hospital organization that their sole purpose is to find and impregnate fertile women. And they find this guy whose name is Sam Hell, who is a rapist? ?
No, not. And, no. He's a womanizer. I wasn't gonna say.
Well, I mean, he's on trial for rape.
No, he it wasn't because of what his daughter said. It was he was on trial because of the dad assumed he was putting him.
Well,
Okay,
but that
so-
was but no, apparently she changed her story when she found out she was
She found out she
pregnant.
was
That was
pregnant,
that was
yeah.
the line.
Because
So it's unclear. It might have just been like, hey, daddy, this guy did something to me because, I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing. So she wanted to get out of some trouble herself. But it's very unclear. It's it in so many ways. This is like the setup of A Boy and His Dog, because
Yeah.
Don Johnson's character in that movie was like not the most reputable, sensitive guy with the ladies. But I digress. Please, Angela,
Please continue.
Yeah.
Sorry, Angela.
So,
yeah.
He denies it, of course. I mean, who wouldn't? But either way, his sentence is commuted immediately because he is extremely virile and has the largest sperm count anybody's ever seen. But of course he does, because he's Roddy effing Piper.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So basically, in order to keep from getting executed, he has to sign away the rights to his Winky and the issue from it. And so he goes on a mission with a representative from the hospital and a commando badass chick to go rescue and impregnate the women who are being held prisoner in Frogtown. And mayhem ensues, of course, and of course, they fall in love. But he still has to impregnate everybody.
He does. He's got a job to do.
He does. It's government work, guys, and right now that's a little scarce. So take what you can get, feds.
What they say is that a soldier's work is never done is the last line. I think it should have been, a man's got to do who a man's got to do.
Right. I mean, if you have a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah. He was a Roddy pipe layer.
He was.
Oh,
nice.
my God.
Nice.
Yeah, this I had some feelings during the first 20 minutes or so of the movie.
Mark can attest. This is the seed, no pun intended, of the text exchange that we had. I said, I'm just trying to avoid using the P word, but is this adult entertainment? Because I said this movie should be called A Boy and His Dong, because it's all about, I guess I'm so reluctant. I'll go across the desert impregnating everyone I can find. And the scientist also happens to be hot and she wants me. And the lady with the giant machine gun, she wants me. And I got to do my duty. I'm like, I said, is Peter North going to show up as the Lord of Frogtown? Because I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I just think things are a little sensitive out here, and all the propaganda in the hospital really was triggering to me a little bit. Skip a condom, save a life.
Yeah.
It's your duty to boink your brains out.
Yeah.
For Wad and Country. Sorry.
Wow, you're just on fire tonight, Ian. You're just on fire.
And so is Sam Hell after all that strange.
So is Sam Hell, apparently.
And I had to shake my head because it took me a long time to realize that the reason it's called Hell Comes to Frogtown is not because he's bringing, the forces of war and brah. No, his name is Hell and he's going to Frogtown.
Sam Hell, no
Yeah.
less.
No,
Sam
it's not.
Hell.
It's Sam Hellman.
Sam Hellman, that's right.
Which is
that's
perfect
right.
because he's going around spreading his mayonnaise.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now, so Angelique, you remember when you first saw this? Was this a recent view for you, or have you seen this?
I saw it today.
This is your first time?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, yeah. This is gonna be beautiful because this is my manyth time seeing this.
I mean, after I relaxed a minute, because like I said, the whole forced pregnancy thing was a little bit to overcome for a second, but then I was like, okay, wait a minute, okay, they're okay with it, okay, it's not a Handmaid's Tale situation,
Right.
yeah. But then I, like I said, I relaxed a little bit, and the first desert scene was really funny to me. And so
mad props. Yeah, that first desert scene, and we'll definitely get other folks, but mad props to the directors of this film to manage to make Sandal Bergman in a scene be very awkward. Try to where she's supposed to be a reserved woman acting sexy, and they managed to pull it off to where the scene you look at, it's like between her acting and the direction of that first scene where she's trying to be seductive, I'm like, you guys managed to do this, because I'm thinking of Conan, to where I'm like, there's a reason why I enjoyed Sandal Bergen for many reasons. She was not only badass, but they made her very, they made her a Valkyrie, for crying out loud, so, and in here, she's definitely the opposite end of that. And they managed to do that with her. And I was impressed that they were able to do that with her performance and that, but yeah, Ian, this was your first viewing too, right? You were mentioning, you thinking this was a porn. We'll use the P word. That's right, adult cinema. Yeah. How do you feel about it after the movie was over?
I kind of liked it better when it was when I was under the assumption that it was porn, because like once they get to Frogtown, the biggest takeaway was that the frog mutants look kind of like what they did with the Gremlins and Gremlins 2. They look very wet, like very almost like cartoonishly green.
Sure.
It's like the Gremlins from Gremlins 2 mixed with the invaders from V. And maybe kind of frogs sometimes, particularly with Toady the leader. But after a while, it just kind of becomes a bad action movie that's trying to be a bad action comedy. I imagine Sam Raimi watching this in 1988 and thinking, you know what? I could take Ash from my Evil Dead movie and do a better version of this. And then, 6 years later or whatever, 5 years later, you got Army of Darkness. Because that's the kind of vibe I'm getting off of this. It's weird, Mark. I don't know if you did this intentionally, but last week we talked about Steel Dawn, which came out in 87, the same year that Patrick Swayze made that blockbuster Dirty Dancing movie that everyone talked about. He made this crappy, Desert Wasteland movie that nobody talks about. A year later, you've got Roddy Piper, who was in They Live, which is a cult classic, and in this movie. It's so, and I had no idea that this thing existed.
Oh yeah.
I love They Live, but I feel like if John Carpenter had watched Frogtown before making They Live, I don't think Roddy Piper would have been in They Live. Because he's making like the cartoon bug out faces. Like I could not believe it was the same actor.
Oh, he was having his groceries zapped. I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah, he was having his. I was gonna say, because with Sam Hellman being the most virile man and being government property after he signed his self away, so to speak. They put this chastity belt of sorts on him that it's not so much a chastity belt as it is a dog collar to make sure he doesn't run, because if he runs, it'll explode on him. So they're banking on him not wanting to die or lose most of his lower extremities on this to stick around. So yeah, I dig this movie. Here's why I dig this movie. I dig this movie because, one, it was cable fodder. It used to be at least like once a month or so on Up All Night, a slightly cut version, obviously, and then it was also on YouTube, not YouTube, on the pay channels, the movie channels late at night. It was definitely cable fodder for you to fill a spot, and because at the time it was called WWF, the Gold Letter Age, Roddy Piper had his hype. He was moving into acting. That's why this movie ever got released. before They Live, because this film got released around the same time, direct to video and cable, that when They Live came out. And I honestly think that's why, is because when They Live came out, they're like, oh, Roddy Piper's a draw. We can do this, you know? And they brought this out. But for me, one of the things that appeals to me is the film. You can tell right away just from the opening dialogue that it's not taking itself seriously at all. This film's very aware of what it is. It's not trying to be A Boy and His Dog, or as we looked at it last week, Ian, Steel Dawn, which really felt like it was taking itself way too seriously. And this film, while maybe on the other spectrum, at least you're like, okay, this is being tongue-in-cheek, poke fun at the Wasteland type of films that you're having. And, you know, in the 80s style, a little nudity along the way.
I agree with you, Mark, but I think the problem is they have the same kind of result, which is it's not very good comedy. It's like, hey, we're gonna appeal to, you know, a bunch of good old boys having some beers, watching Up All Night. No offense. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be out. And
Well,
that's the thing. Like, I thought it was kind of strange. I thought it was kind of cringeworthy, especially when Roddy Piper is making those big Disney Channel, you know, cross-eyed
well, yeah,
expressions. Like, you really, if I kept thinking, if Bruce Campbell had been in this movie, you could have even done the exact same script and it would have been so much better. Because he's got that kind of charm, that kind of charisma where you're not quite sure he's taking it seriously, but he also has that comedic edge. There's a certain degree of talent that's missing here that made it kind of fall flat. That end scene with the struggle over the cliff with the giant frog monster.
No, it's awful. Yeah,
it is, because it's like they kept going back to the cliff drop. Like, no, we really need you to understand that they're on the edge of a cliff, and if one of those guys falls down, it's going to be really bad. So we're going to cut back to it, break up the entire rhythm of the fight. It's like, stop. I get it.
And the Trekkie in me enjoyed that because it was literally like Kirk fighting a Gorn.
It was
only
totally
it was
a Gorn
Roddy
fight.
Piper fighting Toady on it. But, you know, I guess, and I get what you're saying, and I am under no impression this is a good movie. I find this film highly entertaining, though. You know, and Angelique, that's why I was glad you're on the show here tonight to give some perspective, because you're right. The propaganda is supposed to be bothersome and some of the concept, but it's supposed to, it's doing it on purpose, at least. It's not like you said, it's not Handmaid's Tale.
Right. And that, you know, it like I said, you know, for a moment I was like, the fuck? But then I was like, wait, okay. And I was able to really relax and I mean, because I thought this movie was pretty funny, and you know, to me, yes, his big cartoony, you know, when he was getting zapped and everything, you know, that was him working the ring, because you have to be so big in the squared circle, you know. So.
Again, this I believe he did do before he did They Live. So, Joe, are you with us? Maybe there's a lot of lag from Joe, unfortunately.
The less dialogue you give Roddy Piper, the better.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why They Live worked very well, because Roddy Piper is the quiet loner, you know, in that one. So he doesn't, he can deliver his lines where he needs to, and then he's good. You know, I saw someone, Chris Jericho did a story about Roddy Piper and how he had been acting in that, and when he came back to wrestling, they gave him a script or whatnot, and he's like, he's an old school wrestler. He's not used to a script. He's used to saying, hit these points in your promo, go, you know, and then he would do what he wonderfully could do, is cut a promo better than pretty much anyone. and drop in those key lines. And so I think here he did struggle a bit with a script, and they give him a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
He also has amazing hair. I kept thinking, like, he looks like, I know they're trying to do a live action Masters of the Universe now. If they could have done that in 1988, they would have had their perfect Prince Adam / He-Man, because that's a beautiful flowing mane.
I love the Masters of the Universe. I saw that movie like 4 times in the theater.
His hair is definitely Dolph Lundgren level hair in this, for sure.
It's Lundgren meets Farrah Fawcett. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that perfect Prince Adam cut. And I loved at the end when he and Sandal Bergman are reunited and they embrace, like, they're almost like mirror images of each other. They both have the same flowing blonde haircut.
They do have this, you know, they do. And we've got a couple comments here we're going to pull over quick, as Ian would say. Hope you don't mind me saying that. I'm not trying to steal your phrase, but we have the Trashed Picture Show. Thank you for tuning in. And yo, Mark, love this flick. It's the best Duke Nukem movie never made. I will totally agree. This is Duke Nukem had to pull from this film. For sure, because Nukem was after this, I think. But yeah, love the fact Steve Wang, who helped Stan Winston make the Predator's facial design, did the frog animatronic heads for this. Yeah, and you know, that's another thing that I loved learning about when I talked to Patrick Reed Johnson when we talked to him about Space Invaders. He said the same thing. He was like, he had guys from ILM and that were working on the big budgeted movies coming across the bridge late at night and working in his warehouse till like 3 a.m. on this little space project he had, because he gave them kind of creative control. They were loving just making it. And yeah, here we have the same guy who did the Predator facial designs doing the designs for our frogs here.
Yeah. And I gotta say, that's the other one of my other points of kind of frustration is, you know, I kind of made fun of the frog people earlier, but the design, especially on, you know, our Commander Toady or whatever the hell his name is, we got some close-ups, particularly towards the end of the movie, and they're really good. There's some good articulation with the eyes, and I mean, it looks like a living creature. And I'm thinking, this is way better than anything else that's going on. So I can tell you, it's fascinating that you work with in Stan Winston's shop, because it really does show.
It does. Angelique, what'd you think of the design of our frog people?
I thought they were awesome, and I loved that there was a girl frog.
Yeah.
Who looked like the lady gremlin from Gremlins.
She really did. She
did.
Reminded me of the facial structure. You know, she didn't have the long flat face like Bull and Toady.
Right.
She was much more. She had cheekbones. You know. So, but yeah. No. And to counter what Ian said about them looking wet and stuff, I'm like, well, that's how frogs are. They're slimy and kind of gross.
Yeah, I wondered about that, particularly when they're all just like running around in the desert. Like, I don't know.
They're covered, remember, because we're introduced to that. See, and this is why I love it. You could tell this is meant to be a parody of the Wasteland Wandering films, of the other films we've watched this month. Actually, it's intended to be kind of a parody of that genre of film, because we get the opening with the voiceover of how the world powers were going to have their world war, but only key. I love this setup. This is actually better than Steel Dawn's setup. There were key, you know, targets that were going to get hit with nukes, and then they were going to come all to the table and talk about things. And then that lasted, what did they say, like 10 days? And then they were like, it didn't last long. And so they tried again. And then that's when the world got nuked and you get mutants. And then we get this opening with a frog guy who is confronted by a human, and the frog guy shoots the human. And then it's like, hell comes to Frogtown. And then we get that title screen. I'm like, yeah, you know what you're in for.
I just love that the first line of actual dialogue in the movie is, "What you got, squid lips?"
Yeah.
You
I guess
greeners aren't supposed to have guns. Yeah.
it really all was right there. I did like the also the opening, the not the title sequence, but yeah, the literal title animation
Yeah.
is the same as the one from Jason Goes to Hell, the Final Friday. The flames coming up against the black, and like, yeah, that's where we're at.
Well, yeah, and then also you had that wonderful. I loved the style of this credit opening. You know, I miss credit openings. I really do miss credit openings. I know we get them at the end, but it's not quite the same because it builds you up. And in this one, we're getting introduced, and they show you the picture of Roddy Piper. They give you the title of the actor's name, so you can kind of see who's who in here. You got a really kind of grooving soundtrack opening. You're like, yeah, just get you hyped up for this movie a bit. After we just watched a frog guy blow someone away, you're like, okay, all right, what are we in for here? And then we get into the film we get our hero getting beat shit out of him in a chair. But we got another comment here quick from the Trash Picture Show. It's the point. He's like, my one issue with this movie, constructed of issues, is why wire Sam's junk with an explosive when he's the prize stud of the species. It's like burning a bank to the ground to try and get to the money.
or the money shot, as it were.
Or the money shot. But I and in all honesty, I give bad props for Sandal Bergman being in this film and being the role that she's in, because we're used to seeing her in roles not like this, to where she's a geeky scientist. I was like, this is different. She's usually the confident warrior, badass woman in it, and she gets to that moment in the end. But still, it was fun to see her in a role like this.
That's why one of the things why I wondered if I was watching porn, because like, that's not the nerdy scientist. I know that at some point, they're doing the lingerie scene this early, 10 minutes in. Okay, I knew it was going to happen. I'm just surprised.
And pink lace.
Yes.
Yep. I mean, the only thing that was missing was her taking off her glasses and swishing back her hair in slow motion. But
she wasn't that good at her seduction training, though.
She looked like a colt that was learning to walk.
Well, but then that's what I dig. That's what I love. You're absolutely. That is perfect description. Looking like a colt that is learning to walk.
It's like an alien came down. This is sexy.
She's trying to be sexy, and it's and it shows you that I've always enjoyed Sandal Bergman's performances, whatever she's in, because I always thought she had a lot of talent, and she has that here. She's supposed to be awkward, and you're like, she manages to pull that off to where
it made me laugh out loud when she said, I have been trained in the art of seduction. And I'm like, oh, please. No.
She was doing the least seductive thing. Yeah.
Collarbone is very sexy. This area here and here.
Look, she's great, but I got to talk about Sentinella, the machine gunner who drives the pink battle truck.
As a pink battle PT Cruiser, sir.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. This movie gave me PTSD. But wait, that's there's a venereal disease joke in there.
There's a venereal joke.
Sorry. But no, I mean, I think she was great. She was very sexy, and kind of an enigma. She, of course, tries to jump Sam Hell's bones very early on as well. And I wondered if they were going to try and get something going on. Oh, hey, Mark.
I'm still here. Yep. No, it's okay. Keep going.
Okay. Got a different view of you now.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't want to get crass, and it's probably just a trick of the camera, not your camera, Mark, but in the movie.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where she is, Sentinella is sitting down by the campfire watching Sam Hill try and go to sleep in his sleeping bag, and she's got her gun. her legs are completely spread, and she's wearing like these, army pants. It's kind of a trope when there's a guy who's very well endowed. You can kind of see the dick print on the pants. This one, there is a very pronounced, I'll say, vertical slit going up the middle of her
Wow.
pants. I'm like, I'm hoping that's just supposed to be a fold, because if it's not, that's having the exact opposite effect of what the director was intending. Wow.
I like her character though quite a bit.
Yeah.
I thought her character was very cool. Was a nice contrast to, she's a character that you would have expected Sandal Bergman to be in. Her
I
character.
would not be surprised if those characters ended up in each other, but that's a different kind of
Well,
movie.
that's a different kind of thing altogether. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, but yeah, she's great, and it's, I don't know. There's something about, I like that she kind of took a back seat to some of the action, particularly towards the end, and it really was about Spangle. I think that was
Spangle was her name.
Bergman's
Yeah.
name. Her really kind of coming into her own and becoming the kick-ass chick at the end, and then everyone's kind of reunited. It's, yeah. They just needed someone to come in and work on these jokes, and then I think this could have been an action comedy classic, because
Just a punch up, that's all.
yes, just a little bit. It was off by a couple of degrees.
Oh,
But
come on,
Roy
you didn't.
Calhoun cracked me up.
Who? Oh,
Roy
Roy Calhoun. Yeah,
Yeah.
the buddy of Sam Hill. I love how just like random we get that. We get a random buddy, which again was very fitting for the type of film this is, because Sam Hill is a guy who's wandered the wasteland, and he just happens across a buddy of his.
it just like in Steel Dawn, this movie, I
It
feel
is
like,
just-
Mark, this movie is like tumbleweeds, or this month is like tumbleweeds. We keep having a movie, and then the next movie like incorporates stuff from the previous movie, and then it keeps rolling on and on and on. It's, I don't know if you orchestrated this, but it just coincidentally is perfect.
No, it just happened that way. It really happened that way. That these kind of roll together, but it's why I loved this genre, because I mean, if you watch enough of these, I'm not sure how many post-apocalyptic films like Mad Max knockoffs you've seen, Ian. Angelique, I know you've seen probably a few. This is kind of that trend, though, isn't it? To where they could really all be in the same universe.
Well, especially with the harem that ends up getting rescued. That is straight up the plot of Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And
the frog Toady is kind of like, a Morton Joe.
Yeah.
Although Morton Joe didn't have the 3 snakes that you had to dance to.
we did not. We don't know that he did not also have that. But man, I will give the movie credit, because when there's that whole mystery of like, oh, you got to do the dance of the 3 snakes, and like Spangle is trying to figure out what the hell that is, because the harem is like, oh, if you don't do the dance correctly, you're gonna die. And then she gets brought before Toady, and he's like, do the dance of the 3 snakes, and she's like, I don't know what that means. And then she gets awkward, and then she gets really crazy seductive, and he's like, you win, you've done the dance of the 3 snakes. And you could see the frogman getting hornier and hornier, and I was, Angelique, you were uncomfortable at the beginning of this movie. Yeah, I was getting uncomfortable watching this scene, because all of a sudden I notice like they show up again, another close up of someone's lap, and then like the lap starts dancing in multiple places. I'm like, no. Yes, those are the 3 snakes. They're trouser snakes.
Yes, yeah. What'd you think of our 3 snakes, Angelique, and the dance of the 3 snakes? We have to talk about it.
There's great dance sequences, and then there's dance sequences that you just kind of tilt your head at like a confused dog, and this is that kind. But again, it fit her character. She is not a seductress. She is a government scientist, soldier. Granted, I'm not saying that soldiers can't be seductive. They absolutely can be. Or scientists can absolutely be seductive. But in this case, in this universe, this Wasteland, she's the super serious, uptight person, and the fact that she starts out almost with some Charleston style music.
Yeah, I know, right?
I was like, well, I don't think that's the Dance of the Three Snakes. If it is, that's kind of crazy. But then she heard the voice of the chick from the harem after they did their weird chiffon scarf ritual with her. She got into what little bit of groove she could pull from her caucasity, and
again, mad props to Bergman, because this is a person who's been in other roles to where she has played seductive characters or whatnot. Very, and in here she does a fantastic job of making even the Dance of the Three Snakes, when she does start to get seductive, you buy into the fact that this is someone who normally doesn't do this, and she's doing the best she can, and it's a portrayal that I appreciate quite a bit.
And apparently she did great.
But then, when you've got three snakes, which is hilarious, because, when I hear Dance of the Three Snakes, I kind of knew immediately when I first watched this what they were going to go, when the ladies were talking about the Dance of the Three Snakes, I'm like, oh, okay. And you have that weird tantric thing going on where they're preparing her. And I'm like sitting there going, that's taken me to today, where you're seeing these videos of where they have people just putting their hands over the bellies or whatever of women or whatnot. And the women are just like all getting really, worked up, fully clothed and everything, but they're just, and I'm like sitting here going, oh, okay. They're getting her ready for the Dance of the Three Snakes. And, when she gets in front of them, they put her underwear in front of our hell when she first tried to, keep him aroused, so to speak, at the beginning of the film, was far more seductive than that white toilet paper dress, whatever they put her in.
It was like bad wedding lingerie. It was like the cheap stuff that's on the clearance rack, And this is the latter part of the 80s, when the aerobic scene was still really big, and all the underwear had the long vagina style. It's like the crotch starts right below the boobs, and it goes all the way down, baby.
But it was strings on the side, so you had the piece of material in the middle that wrapped around, and then you just had strings that held it. The elastic.
Had a yard of material in the front that just kind of slung around to the back, kind of a Brazilian cut where you got just a little bit of cheek on the side and then the strings,
Yeah, but that white dress, I'm like sitting here going, wow, did they? And I'm looking at it for a minute going, wait, are they using the same costume they used for the frog woman?
Well, she was dead at that point, so why not?
She was dead at that point. True.
No, I'm not going to be able to shake the phrase "long vagina style" out of my head, and also, Mark, I want to stop talking about Frogtown and get into what the hell videos are you watching? Because the thing with the hands and the women, what? I'm old, but I feel like I'm way out of touch on this one.
No, nothing like that. I don't know.
Wild.
One of those. It was like it's supposed to be some kind of Google meditation, yoga meditation thing. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I saw one once. So, and luckily I didn't. No, because I don't want that on my FYP or whatever the hell the kids call it. No. What also is a great gimmick with the Dance of the Three Snakes is the fact that she gets up there, and when they're ready to try to escape, she kicks him 3 times. I loved that. I loved how it wasn't just one kick to there. She kicks all 3 snakes, and it doesn't take till the 3rd snake she kicks before he drops to his knee.
And there were substantial hits too. We don't get to see the 3 snakes, but it's implied, and like just she looks off screen. She's like,
"Yeah,
I'm not going near those." That's right.
And then the sound effects for her kicking, you're just like, "Oh man!" I'm kind of. I'm kind of feeling that. We got another comment here from the Trashed Picture Show. So happy that you tuned in. I get what Ian's saying, and he's dead right, but I still can't love this flick. Might have helped. I've the mental development of a 12-year-old. Well, you and me both, Trash Picture Show, because I watched this again, and I just had so much fun watching this. It took me right back to when I was watching it on cable and that. And we mentioned her, but Scintilla, played by Cease Virile, is a cool character. I wanted to see more of her because she is very confident. She ends up seducing Sam at one point, or tries to, before they're caught by Spangle. But she's the warrior, and she's pretty badass in this, actually.
She is, and I almost think it's kind of her character, not her character, but the moment is kind of ruined at the end when Sam gives her the locket that came from his daughter.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
wait, what is that? What? If they hadn't almost had sex like a day earlier, I think that would have been much more touching. But he's like, yeah, think of this or use this for when you get lonely or something like that.
See,
No.
I do appreciate that though, because they even pose that question. That's how this whole thing is just a wonderful parody of the Wasteland, because we're talking end of the 80s. So this was a genre that was starting to fade a bit. These Mad Max knockoffs and that. But where she asks, "Oh, your wife?" And he's like, "No, my daughter." And I'm like, okay, that's at least a little bit of a mix, change up from what you would normally have. No, this is from my wife, or what. I'm like, I like that. So, there's some of those, it plays with the expectations. And yeah, I think the scenes that they have the most fun with are when Spangle and Sam, when she's got to try to pose as his, servant. Both actors just seemed like they were having so much fun with that whole gimmick. Did it not seem that way though? It almost seemed like she was trying not to laugh a lot of times with it.
You're not selling it, Mark. But no, I will say there is that bit where they first get up to the bar and he orders a drink, and then she's like, "How about one for me too?" And he says, "But you're my slave."
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, that is really smart and really funny. I forgot about that until you brought it up, but that was good. And yeah, he looked he had that devilish kind of cheek to him.
Yeah, he had that cheek that would later on be more refined as he got more experience in his acting. And in fact, I think the bar scene, I wonder if they shot the bar scene later in this film, because they usually film things out of sequence. Because Piper's acting in the bar scenes, I think, are better than the acting in some of the other scenes that we get with him.
You're right. Yeah, I can see that, because I feel like if going by your theory, if this had been shot around the same time as some of his earlier scenes, if we're calling them the earlier scenes, he would have done something like, "But you're my slave." Yeah, and like rolling his eyes around like one of those Gremlins and Gremlins 2. That's my running theme for tonight. But no, it was much subtler comedy there.
It was, and we get a little window into the mutant world. We don't get too much explanation into why we have the mutants on the reservation, just that they put them there. They didn't decide to kill these folks, and there's a twist, folks, because the frogs aren't supposed to have guns, but they're getting guns from somebody is selling guns to them. They do not cover at all who the somebody is that's selling guns to him, even though he's all up in a mask and everything and done up in Wasteland survival gear. The minute you hear his voice, it's the same guy we saw in the beginning kicking the shit out of Sam. Hell,
Which, yeah, it's obvious, but it just raises a lot of questions. Like, wait, this low-level security guy is like running arms to the
An
mutant
arms
frog
dealer.
people. What?
Well, he was some kind of captain or something. They call him by rank when the ladies show up to get Sam Hell. But yeah, it's this film is what it is. I'm so glad you guys were open to watching it, and unfortunately Joe had technical issues tonight. You are with us in spirit, Joe. I'm sure Joe had some probably shares more of my glee with this movie. Again, I'm with the Trash Picture Show as maybe I have the mental development of the 12-year-old as well, but I enjoyed this film, and watching it again, I enjoyed it again for the spirit of this film. And I think if this film took itself as seriously as, say, Steel Dawn, I wouldn't like it at all. But the fact that this film just out of the gate is letting you know, we know what concept we have here. We know what we're making here. Just go with it, okay? And this is, you look at this and it checks off all the boxes for what is the tropes for your B late night film. This checks all the tropes. You got a somewhat name in it. You've got some nudity in here. You've got, halfway decent effort with the special effects, which, yeah, Ian, I'm with you. Apparently the frog makeup effects, Steve Wang did it for only $12,000.
Wow.
He probably was just doing it because they said, hey, make us some frog people. He's been working at a Hollywood thing where Stan Witz is like, well, I need it this way and this way. And here they go, we need some frog people. Here's the money that you have for it. Make us some frog people.
Well, honestly, I wonder if he got an even better deal. Like working in Stan Winston's shop, it's entirely possible that these were just like cast-offs from some other project that got scuttled.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I can totally make you some frog costumes. He's just like shoving stuff in his bag, like, here you go, where's my money?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. This was made by probably parts he was able to scavenge, because that happened a lot back then for these older. I mean, not even the older stuff. Later on, if you looked at my favorite TV series that was canceled all too soon, Firefly, the what was supposed to be, though Fox played it wrong. Long story. That's a whole episode in itself. But the one episode, they were literally wearing the same uniforms that they wore in Starship Troopers. They were wearing the exact same, the guards for the train that Mal and his team heist. They're wearing Starship Troopers armor, and they're carrying Starship Trooper guns. They're literally reusing the props. So, and there's other places too, like, the B movies. We always talk about them and how, to save money, they would shoot short scenes, because all of the film they shot things on were the tail ends of footage of movie reels of unused film. So they would buy like 100 feet, 50 feet of film, and they would then splice the blank film together to shoot their stuff,
Yeah.
So
they're basically shooting on rib tips, is what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he borrowed stuff.
Reservoir tips.
Oh wow. Some other fun trivia for us all. The part of Sam Hell was written with Tim Thomerson in mind, which I could totally see. But New World demurred. Then Daniel Stern was strongly pushed by New World, but Stern wanted certain aspects of the character changed. Finally, it came down to Roddy Piper and Ed Marinaro, and they selected Piper.
Who's Ed Marinara?
I have no idea.
He's a saucy actor, I can tell you that much.
Hey, you smelled what I was cooking.
Yeah, but he didn't want to noodle anybody. So anyway, no. Apparently, the humor was a lot more raunchy in the original script. And yeah, this was conceived as a series, which they did do a sequel. They did Frogtown 2, aka Return to Frogtown, and that was followed by a third film, The Toad Warrior, which was
What?
released as Max Hell Frog Warrior. Yeah, they were direct to video releases.
I'm about to go scour Plex.
Hey, and they shot this film in only 19 days. So, you know, yeah. Oh, and they are going to briefly, oh man, check out this cast. Briefly, it was considered Sybil Danning was going to play Spangle. Oh, and Pam Grier was briefly considered for Sentinella.
That would have been so badass.
Would have been so badass, man.
I wonder.
Money. I would imagine.
Money.
I would imagine money, and
Yeah.
probably, you know, I don't think it was would have been necessarily the script for either of those because they'd probably be up for it. But I bet you it was money that they just couldn't. You know, if they're putting their name in this film, they probably wanted some cash to go along with that, which you know sometimes happens. But man, could you imagine those two in?
This is the one reason that I'm really looking forward to consumer grade powerful AI, is because someday you're going to be able to say, I want you AI to remake Hell Comes to Frogtown with Sybil Danning and Pam Grier in the original roles, and you'll be able to watch it.
Okay, you know, I might be down with that.
I just don't know if I want to watch Pam Grier try to seduce Roddy Piper.
Well, you can just change him out for Ed Marinara if that makes you more comfortable.
Okay. I mean, if we want to stir the pot.
I mean, well, no, I'd replace him with Tim Thomerson. So there you go. You put the original in there. Hey, we've got the Trash Picture Show is still with us. So happy you're still with us, Trash Picture Show.
Yes,
the clowns from Killer Clowns head molds were repurposed as troll heads in Ernest Scared Stupid. So there you go. Hollywood does reuse stuff.
Yeah. That's the Chiodo brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got. I think we talked with Edward Chiodo on Triple M.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. He was talking about that.
Yeah, my wife loves Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So
me too.
I've got the vinyl, which they did some wicked art for the vinyl release of the soundtrack. Mondo did. Oh my God, it's so good.
Wasn't Rory Calhoun one of the victims in Killer Clowns?
I think so, yeah.
He ended up in Cotton Candy, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
What I love about Rory Calhoun's character in this one is while they're at the frog bar, he's got that food that he made, and he's talking about all the things that he ground up, and all I could think about is that Rory Calhoun's character in this movie is Farmer Vincent, who survived the apocalypse and is this crazy miner dude because it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters.
Yes.
I'd be down with that.
Motel Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Oh, now that's an AI movie I'd be down for.
Motel Hell Comes to Frogtown. There's a mashup that needs to happen.
That's a Wheel of Fortune puzzle right there.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, because the frog people imply at one point that they're going to eat people because they have her, and they're like, oh, you know, we're going to have her for dinner. And I'm like, oh, so now Motel Hell Comes to Frogtown. Motel Hell supplies the frog people with people meat. There you go.
It's like a field of frogs, like buried up to their necks in the ground.
Yes.
Hey, Trash Picture Show, I get that it's really late there. Thank you for tuning in, even though it's so late there. If you got something to plug, put it in the comments. I will be happy to plug you. They're on YouTube, folks. Look for the Trash Picture Show on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in on this wild night, talking about a wild film. You know, again, I find a lot of entertainment in it. Maybe it's because I watched it when it first came out to direct to video, which was like in '88. So I would have been 12, 13, you know? So
The perfect age.
the perfect age for this, right? Well, the thing is, there was the cut version on Up All Night.
Mhm.
So you didn't get, and by this point, even, you have the subject matter. So this is practically PG-13 nowadays. I mean, it's rated R, but you look at it, it's more the subject matter than the content itself that I would say is considered, rated R here. It's more of the subject matter of talking about fertility and all that. But for me, I'm like, yeah, maybe I just watched it at that impressionable age, and that's why it's got a little sweet spot in the heart for me. But I've got the DVD, which unfortunately did not play in my PS3. Well, the disc, I mean, is 30 years old. It was put out by some fly-by-night company, I think. So, but the DVD, if you want it on DVD, it's out of print. There's people selling it for over $100.
I thought
Like
Vinegar Syndrome released it
They
on
did.
Blue. Okay.
They did. The Blu-ray's going for a lot cheaper. It's still up there, but the DVD itself, like this one
Yeah.
that I've got here, this version,
Yeah.
apparently with the working disc, and some of them have a wrap still. Apparently, it's going up to upwards of $150 for this
Wow.
DVD.
Wow.
Now, we've talked about it. We've talked about it in pre-show. You can have all the collectibles that are worth money all you want. If you can't find someone to buy them, it's going to sit on your shelf and collect dust. And there's a reason why there's so many listings for that DVD of over $100 for many reasons. What I love about this DVD though is that they have the word "start" spelt wrong on it.
Oh
Huh?
It's STRAT
Strat.
movie.
Strat.
Strat movie.
No, it's just me. You're supposed to bring out your guitar to play like a cool rock riff as you start the awesome film.
If it didn't have a company logo and stuff on it, I would have swore that this is just a bootleg. But it's printed. I mean, it's really well done if it is a bootleg of some sort. But it says Strat movie.
I've got a little case of bootleg DVDs from Iraq. From when my ex-fiance was stationed over there, they would buy these for like $2, and they've got 2 or 3 movies on them. And my favorite one has got Ghost Ship, Fright Night, and 13 Ghosts. On
Oh
one
wow!
disc. But the Fright Night is spelled Franknert.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I will never get rid of that disc just so that I can put it in and just be like, check that out right there.
Franknert.
Franknert.
Can you imagine if Chris Sarandon came down the stairs and said, "Welcome to Franknert," for real?
God, I want to have a cameo. I want to buy a cameo of him and be like, I need you to say this.
Just say this. Here's the words. Just say this. So I think we'll wrap it up here for the night. Yeah, this film is what it is. I am happy that I hope you both found amusement in it, and we'll go around, give your final thought with Hell Comes to Frogtown. We'll start with you, Angelique. And would you recommend it to anyone? Like,
yeah, I would. It's, it's just a weird, fun little apocalypse movie, and if you're a Roddy Piper fan whatsoever, it's a fun watch. If you like Buckaroo Banzai, if you like Howard the Duck, this is a good movie to check out. And I'm gonna watch it again. I think I'm gonna grab that Vincem because I want to see some special features.
Yeah. I know I don't have it. I need to get it, but apparently, yeah, Vinegar Syndrome put out a really good release of it.
Yeah.
As well, because it is, again, it's one of those cult films that you just so I'm glad you found enjoyment in it. What about you, Ian? I know you mentioned you thought this was porn. Would you recommend it, or?
I'm on the fence. I mean, I can't recommend it. 12-year-old boys, yes, go watch this movie. It's gonna be a growing experience for you, especially that first 20 minutes. But otherwise, it's fascinating. It's one of those movies you watch to figure out why other movies that did this stuff did it better, or how they did it better. Like,
Sure.
what are the missing ingredients here? But also, if you watch all of the films in this month's lineup, which I also recommend you do, you can see kind of the evolution of what we're talking about, and also how, again, like we talked about Fury Road and other movies, not necessarily that they ripped this off, because I don't know that George Miller necessarily watched this movie, but you can see how things that were done here kind of carried into the future, 20 years later or whatever. I can't recommend it for pure entertainment, but as an academic exercise, why not?
It's an interesting entry into this very large genre from the 80s of post-apocalyptic film, because it is a large genre of I mean, even if you just cut it out and start from like 75 to 90, there's a massive amount of post-apocalyptic films. We're not even talking about the stuff from early Cold War. We're just talking about when things ramped up. What you got, and it's an interesting entry, especially as this genre started to fade. The fact you get this with Roddy Piper in it. Yeah, if you're a fan and you haven't seen this, you need to, just to see early Rod in action, more than one Rod. I know we're wrapping up and we're going a little long, but one thing I gotta say, which is why when you guys talked about in the very beginning, it was a little in the gray area what Sam Hell did with the daughter of the captain. Is I don't think he actually assaulted her. I think it was consensual, because we see how he is with the girl that they found who escaped later on. And he actually is like, the scientist is like, well, you got to perform, go for it. He's like, she's tied up. He's like, I need a little something here. I can't just, so I think as far as that goes, we do have him here who our hero does have a little bit of, some kind of repertoire.
He's not a bad guy.
Right.
Yeah. And I think I would hazard a guess to say, if they didn't have that rape allegation in the beginning, I wonder if, Angelique, some of your nervousness about the message that the movie was sending would have been allayed.
Yeah,
because it could have just been that this guy found out that this Lothario had slept with his daughter, so he's just got a little bit of like backroom justice with him. You didn't have to bring in that whole situation. You cut out like one line of dialogue, and it's a completely different opening.
Different. Yeah. 100%.
Oh, and I fully agree with that. I think I know what they're going for, but you're right. The perception in that it's a little harder. You're like, well, but
yeah, you're
when you see
rapist loose across the wasteland,
but when you see it,
women, like, whoa.
When you see his behavior during the course of the film, you realize, oh, okay, but yeah, it's jarring for that opening for sure. So
it's not a save the dog or save the cat opening. It's a shoot the cat opening.
Yeah.
It's not the way to set up your hero.
No. But thank you, my panel. Joe, you were with us in spirit. He ran into technical issues, so hopefully we get those worked out. We did miss you here. I know you would probably have shared my glee with this film. And my final thought with it, I've already said it. I fully recognize what type of film it is, but this is the type of film I enjoy, that I grew up with, and I think maybe that's part of the appeal to it. And the fact, and I mentioned it a number of times over the episode, sorry to sound like a broken record, but it's just the fact it's not taking itself seriously. As opposed to some of the other post-apocalyptic films that are you look at them going, oh my God, and they're taking themselves like they're trying to be the next Mad Max. You know, this film knows just from its title, they're like, no, we know what we're making and we're having fun doing it, and just sit back and turn your brain off for a while. And it was the kind of entertainment I needed lately, is just you turn your brain off and revisit this again. And I still enjoyed it as much as the first few times I saw it. So there you have it, folks. Wasteland Wandering is nearing an end. We are almost at the other side of the wasteland. And you will see why next week's film, which is actually on the last day of the month, but it's a Monday and it's still in March, so I chose it. Damnation Alley. You'll see why I kind of picked that one as our final Wasteland Wandering film. Actually, besides the fact that I realized there were 5 Mondays and I needed another film, that's beside the point. It actually worked out. It just naturally worked out. Shh. So, but now, as always, this is where my wonderful crew get their license to shill. So please, the floor is yours. Angelique, what do you got? You got anything involving wieners besides Hell Comes to Frogtown?
Absolutely, yeah. So, if you keep up with me on Facebook, you saw I'm doing a little testing and working things out, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm writing things, and now that Nosferatu 2024 is widely available, I can get my screenshots and the things that I need. So I would say in the next maybe 2 months, Frankenflix will go live.
Awesome. Frankenflix. Look for it, folks, where you get a recipe for wieners to go along with on-screen with on-screen wieners. So I am very curious of what you come up with, what concoctions you come up with. So I can't let Ian have all the puns.
You now have a writer's credit, because they're not going to be recipes, they're going to be concoctions.
I couldn't let Ian have all the pun credit tonight. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm extremely proud of you right now, Mark. That was great.
I learned from you, Ian, tonight. So the license to shill is yours, sir. Go ahead.
No, I just want to go back and admire the magic. My mind, I was stuck on things that concoctions that you are coming up with, but I completely bypassed concoctions, and then wow, that threw me for a loop. So well done, sir.
Thank you.
That was a 4D chess right there.
Thank you.
No, I'm Ian Simmons from Kicking the Seat. I almost said Ian the Simmons. How pretentious is that? Yeah, but
I am Ian the Simmons, the first of his name.
My God. No, I run Kicking the Seat, which you can find at kickseat.com, and also right here on YouTube. We do movie reviews and live streams and stuff. And this Wednesday night, we're going to be talking about Snow White, the 1937 version and the 2025 version with Earth's Mightiest Critics. So 8 p.m. Central. Join us if you are so inclined. And other than that, I'm here every Monday talking movies with Mark, and I have no idea what Damnation Alley is, so looking forward to checking that out. Oh boy.
I can't wait for that one. That's going to be fun.
Right.
SpecialMarkProductions.com for all your movie man needs, folks. I've got a slew of interviews that dropped within the last 10 days or so, including an interview with some of the cast and director of Bears on a Ship, which comes out next month. So check out those interviews. They're all live here on the channel. And Review-a-Palooza I have planned right now to drop later this week. You're going to get 2 reviews a day where I'll be reviewing films that I watched at the Midwest Weird Fest and a Night of Horror Film Festival at the beginning of March. So we'll be ending March with that. So look for all of that wonderful content. Like, subscribe, bells and whistles and all that here on YouTube. We appreciate you. And now until next time, we'll just say good night, everyone.
Good night.